rotting man lies on his side with his eyes looking straight through you. The belt is still around his neck. His body is supine and open to intrusion. By autopsy, the lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath.
Come on, officer. You know what a field autopsy is. You've done 100 of them.
What you do know is, at 18.9 kilometers, the dormant shield volcano, Corpus Muindi, is the world's highest summit, and the failure of the 38 single, Et puis descend, to crack the top 20 was the death knell of disco. But what a field...
There truly is a time for everything, even for yellow gardening gloves. However, they are lacking hygienically. I suggest you get in there in limited capacity. I'll ask you when I need you to. For the most part, maybe I should handle the contact and you take notes? That's right.
The dead man stares in silence as you crack open the ledger. The bright red paper is covered in boxes, and above those, an 11-field info form needs filling out first. It begins with:
That's you. Not an energetic start to an autopsy.
Pig's messed up. Kuno feels pity.
Just leave it empty, officer.
the corpse lies there, indifferent to your retrograde.
KK57-0803.081.
KK equals Kim Kitsuragi. 57 equals Precinct 57, followed by his date 0803. That's because he doesn't want to bring up the messy question of your initials.
Next, NA. NA. Roughly 50.
Try 40. The damage is so extensive, it's better to err on the young side. He nods.
Mondial.
Fair to olive-skinned, from the Isola of Muindi. This is as vague as it gets. The pudgy mess of curdled meat looks...
Fucky!
Male.
Pigs can have sex.
Nor does he look male, with his pregnant belly and indistinguishable face.
We're still going with March 4th, 51. What else? 9. Body identified by is non-applicable. 10. Case number is the same as the coroner's case.
KK57 0.
None, at least not after the initial examination. They'd have to have incapacitated and carried him over. This man was more than a match for untrained dogwalkers.
Your central nervous system recognizes this gesture. It's the stations of the breath. Ecclesiastic, religious in nature, a holdout from pre-DeLorean burial rites. It takes him 2 seconds to...
We should start the post-mortem.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodine, I think. Let's see.
See, it's happening.
Babrodine, yes. Inexpensive. Size M. Color white.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was...
The boots are ceramic, vitreous enamel. They are fused to his skin from blood flowing downward post-mortem. Removal of the boots is left for processing. The boot has a serial number. It's E50.100.100. The lines between the plates are in the shape of the alpha numerical. The number is purposefully concealed by the design. Tattoos. The upper torso is covered in a single, continuous tattoo. The assistant has a color photograph of the marking. The deceased has a belt for airlifting cargo around his neck. Well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters. generally consistent with age 42. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature. Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short. Lividity is consistent with hanging. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest.
Fucking low velocity. You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max. Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest, consistent with predation. Ligature mark. The steel wiring. There's too much of it. We need to remove the belt so we can get to the ligature mark. We get chain cutters, then try with those. I have a pair in the toolbox of my Damn corpse. We had a good rhythm going.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out toolbox, and a metallic...
Take what you need, officer. It's going to be a long case. I'm not protective of my tools, like some men are.
The handles are long. You can do good work with the prime, useful for it's robust. Lets you see things in it. The pull-out toolbox slides back into its nest. Preheat. Rotting man, the lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath.
See, my pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
The belt is equally tight around the knot is the weak spot. The chain cutters fit in there. Steady now, like a flower arranger. 2 cuts. After some deliberation, you sink the cutters into the knot tying the belt together. Snap, the knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing...
The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck. Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters. Chest is intact, normal contour. Abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
No! It's gonna happen, see?
I fucking knew it!
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury. Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip. In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his...
From wounds sustained over 2, maybe more decades, dispersal and accumulation indicates long and active combat duty.
We have a real museum here. Of battles, wars. Last item, hands. Hands are clean. No sign of a recent struggle. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hot. Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? Central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's
Of course, there is a moral to be drawn from it. A moral to this story.
musculoskeletal? Purge fluid is coming from the mouth, not injury related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently. A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge, you hear cracks as the lieutenant moves his sharp fingers inside the flesh, like the creaking of an...
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact. A respiratory system. Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound. Mouth swollen. Hemorrhaging present. Hepatobiliary. NA. Are you a hepatobiliary expert?
Hepato means liver, and biliary, the gallbladder and bile ducts.
Same for toxicology and serology. And cardiovascular. The body exhibits heavy lividity. Blood has gathered in the hands, feet, and neck. Hypostasis is visually consistent with the hanging. Gastrointestinal.
This will do.
Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila. What's next on the list? Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 feels. Leave a 4th one too.
Be thorough if you want maximum results.
Nothing, just in case. Head, chest, and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation. And your opinion, officer? Agreed. Next injury. So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucker!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest, where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
Right. Next, a dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured. The cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter. No signs of clawing on the neck.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around. Think for a moment. There's time. Don't rush.
That's it. We have established cause of death. It's not much, and it leaves much. Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this field autopsy over. I need a copy of that autopsy form. Then I will drive him to Faubourg for processing.
You tilt your head. Also, I'm sure we didn't get everything. There's always something. The fish lips stay silent.
I told you, he is male, 40 to 50, with an athletic build.
You run your hands over the victim's cold body, his limbs, his torso with its swollen. The corpse seems...
Do you think we missed something? I worked as one of those processing guys for a year. They are butchers and clowns. I once saw 20 CODs go misidentified in 1 week. Chances are slim. In short, You and I are the last line of detection. If you're not sure we got everything, we need to look again. And for that, we need to refrigerate the corpse. It would have to be industrial in size. Let's start by asking Gart at the Whirling in Rags and the Fritz store down at the gates. If they don't know, but only if all else fails.
Fuck are you looking at, Beano, man? You want a piece of the Kuno? Wanna get...
Only if all else fails.
Kuno looks like he gets around. Knows Martinez. And its fridges too.
This is one task we cannot sideline.
Can I help you? Yes, yes. For the dead body.
Correct him.
Because you haven't taken it away yet, and it must be stinking hard about now. Well, you're not putting it here, rest assured. This is a culinary establishment, not a morgue.
It would only be for...
Lieutenant, you too? You're asking too? No.
Let's go talk to the Frit clerk.
Scab?
You're hazy on the notion of a scab. Smells like politics, though. Maybe it's got something to...
A kind of a worm, content with mere survival. They come, they want to do our job for shittier pay, screwing over both themselves and us. Everybody loses. Gotta be bloody. Personally, I'd rather beg than scab. If the gentleman shouting on the street came begging, maybe they'd have gotten something. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Bastards! We have a right to war. Hold.
You here to fuck with us? Beat the honest. Good. We're fighting for a cause. Besides, we're not that different. Maybe you should. We have.
So do we, Scab.
Have fun. Union shits are on full strike. Don't think they're going to let. I know nothing about a murder. Wouldn't put it past these harbor bugs. They
Right to work!
Why not?
pity.
Let us work!
A lorry stuck in the traffic jam. The windows are clear. They've been recently washed. You can see a lorry... The back, a book.
Racist nationalist paraphernalia. Not unusual in this part of town. This is our guy. Likely, yes. This guy's proud of who he is.
There he is, in front of Rita. The small, wrinkled woman. The photo, an ambrotype from the turn of the century, as golden as her smile. The woman's no response wherever. An old monument, a silver. As you look up, you notice something about the stand. Even by the stand, well, he blew through the whole national treasury. His own maladministration foreshadowed. Philip III's ludicrous bronze likeness looks defiant.
Stuck in the rain in a traffic jam, man. What's on your mind?
It's raining again. It was clear just an hour ago. Of course. Where to? What do you mean? Yes, sir. District of Martinez.
He knows where we are. He just wants directions.
No problem.
She's very welcome.
Hello, sir. Step right in. Are you interested in a new and exciting book? It's a bookstore, sir.
Books? Postcards? Easy. Even a kid would know all of this. Don't be a fool. As an expert, it's your duty to tell what you know to everyone.
Sir, are you okay? You've been standing here. Okay, sir. I'll try to answer any questions you have. A fridge? You mean like the ice bear fridge? Man, that...
Ice bear fridge?
Yes, like a bear, but white. There's a fridge below the building in the basement, with red glowing eyes. I went back there once, behind the bookstore. Mum doesn't want me to go there anymore. Not that I want... Yes! That's a problem. The only way in is through the bookstore, but my mum is pretty strict about... But I don't know, you're a policeman. Maybe you can convince her somehow. Anyway...
Life? I'll be with you in a moment.
Have you no shame? Whining about your back every time you bring out the measuring tape.
René,
I'm trying.
These manly men are playing balls. This is a ball game. Grab a ball and play it. Don't ask questions. That's the spirit. Don't even waste your breath asking about the game. They wouldn't know anyway. They're way past their prime. You are immediately surprised by the ball's lack of weight. No matter, you'll make it work. The cold already, a chilly breeze ruffles your hair as you stand there, feet firmly planted. All sounds
Merde! Bordel de merde!
a whorehouse of shit. It wasn't whorehouse of shit. The shot was at least 23 meters.
What the hell is your problem? You vandalized our game, son! We can't play pétanque with 5 bull! Well, it damn well is a...
Take it easy, René.
Of course there's harm done, you orange slug. You are as a goddamn bull. Good.
Yes, why did you come here? It's unlikely they know anything about the murder. The worn and beaten...
We can sit on benches after we've solved the murder.
You can revisit the bench if you ever need to pass the...
This coin-operated viewer is facing southwest. Its coin slot is full.
Probably some kids.
A simple but this coin, why place a tourist attraction in the middle of
There was a revita. They got as far as the street lamps and the statue on that intersection. Then something went sour.
The lieutenant adjusts his collar. This post Levanto, a faint sticker on the side reads, RCM. The box scene, eat shit pig, fucked by the coon, and sent G with a crown have been scribbled on it. The mailbox does not know how to man up. It
Welcome to Crime, Romance, and Bio. Be welcome, and please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space. I am the proudest owner of our little shop of culture. Annette, yes, my daughter. I hope she wasn't slacking off again with her nose in science fiction. Oh, shameful girl. What is she up to this time? Wonderful. Did you talk to her? Great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how compelled were you to buy books after talking with her? I guess it's better than nothing. She'll have to try harder next time. I know you're trying to be nice, but she really needs to try a bit harder.
The woman before you scans the store, her shoulders rigid and tense. Every now and then, she nudges her.
A fridge? No, I don't know anything about a fridge.
For whatever reason, she's lying to you about the fridge. Seems like you have to find your...
Then why are you talking to me? Everything is on the shelves to browse. Don't you feel compelled to buy anything? See those...
She smiles and nods, seemingly. A small mountain of colorful board game boxes. An endless... There's also books in a board game. There's a box that says, Wirral, 3rd edition mega setting supplement. That price is steep, but then it's the 3rd edition mega setting supplement, so it makes sense. The display rack is brimming with worn paperbacks, featuring an extremely rows and rows of Heimdall men. Blur your vision. Maybe 100? Not even close. Man from Heimdall in hell. Man from Heimdall and the forest of slaves. Man from Heimdall under the lake. Man, nothing of interest. Only silence. The display rack. These shelves are overburdened with books from the same series. You see the name Dick Mullen. A couple of spook novels hide amidst all crime fiction is a disgrace. And asinine, these books greatly overstate the excitement of police work. What's more, they completely ignore the cycle. Not a single mention of all the stress this work creates upon the officer's family. Detective fiction just doesn't tell the truth at all. You see, a killing is declared. Dick Mullen in the murder house. The final case of Dick Mullen. An obvious lie. Dick Mullen in... Oh no, turns out he faked it to solve a case. Yes, there's tragedy calls for Dick Mullen. Another one with fake death. Wait a minute. All this told us nothing about who Dick Mullen actually is. Your quick eye notices a small caterpillar crawling across the spine of a book. The title reads, A worn paperback from Dick Mullen's classic, Hard War. Could it be the motifs of unstable identities and shocking betrayals? Then this is the book for you.
Of course. Such violence and immorality. I mean, enjoy.
In your hand, you hold Dick Mullen, and the story opens with a knock at the door. Detective Dick Mullen is greeted by an old friend, Charlie Spillane, who's come to Mullen to ask a favor on this dark and cold night. Spillane needs Mullen to drive him in from Vespa to a small town along the Elysium coast. Despite his friend's apparent agitation, Mullen does as he's asked, then returns home where he passes out drunk, as he does most nights. 2 days later, Mullen is arrested by the Vespa police and charged with the murder of Charlie Spillane At his interrogation, Mullen learns that Charlie Spillane was shot in a bar in the very town Mullen dropped him off in by a man matching Mullen's description. Desperate to clear his name, Mullen manages to convince the Vesper police to release him for 3 days so that Mullen may solve his friend's murder and prove his innocence.
What's the matter, detective?
The lieutenant shrugs, resigned to the idea that his profession will rarely, if ever, be accurately represented in art and literature. Of course, Mullen didn't do it. That's the whole premise of the book. Anyway, Mullen returns to the seaside bar where Spillane was murdered and meets a beautiful Miss Deneuve reveals that she was Spillane's lover and that he was mixed up with a local amphetamine smuggling operation. As soon as Mullen begins pulling at strings, the whole conspiracy begins to... Not only is the local police captain in on the amphetamine ring, so is the son of a powerful politician and a strung-out art collector named Torvald, each of whom has his own reasons for wanting Spillane dead. One evening, Deanna Deneuve comes to Mullen's hostel room in tears. The two of them drink half a bottle of vodka, and soon they're seeking comfort in each. Yes, comfort and pleasure. The warmth of another human's touch. The burning taste of liquor on her full, sweet lips. As the two lovers share a post-coital cigarette, Deanna Deneuve turns to Mullen and says, "By the way, always aim for the center of mass." Whatever it is, Mullen never hears the words. A blow to the base of his skull knocks him out cold instantly. Who can you trust in this wicked, messed up world? That's exactly what Dick Mullen says in Dauntless Dick and a Fatal Appointment. Speaking of, your gut's seen better days. It's a cesspool of burbling acids and noxious fumes. The kind of thing when Mullen comes to, Deneuve is dead on the hostel bed next to him. To make matters worse, his clothes are covered with her blood. Mullen trashes his blood-stained clothes and flees the hostel, knowing it's only a matter of hours before the cops discover Deneuve's body. If they haven't been tipped off already, the heat is on. If Dick Mullen can't solve both murders before the cops catch up to him, he's going away for life. Can you solve the case before the cops close in? What is it, detective? It's a dangerous line of work, but somebody has to do it. That's why Dick Mullen never lets anyone get too close. So, who did it, detective? Who killed Charlie Spillane and Deanna Deneuve? Have you been paying attention at all? It wasn't Mullen. It was an imposter. You begin furiously flipping through pages. Even as you know these books follow a series of well-worn tropes, you find yourself completely engrossed. You're turning pages so fast, you don't even notice the ancient spine coming unglued. You try to grab the pages as they come loose, but your fingers aren't quick. Dozens of pages scatter across the floor. The last fifth or so of the book seems to have been lost. It's possible that you could gather and reassemble the pages, but it would take way too long.
Too bad, detective. If it's any consolation, the resolution is almost never very satisfying. And on that note, perhaps we should get back to making sense of our own.
Last year, more than 71% of murders in Revachol went unsolved. In Revachol West, that number was closer. In your hand, you hold 4/5 of Dick Mullen and the mistaken identity. Lonesome, long way home. Here we go. Home awaits. Walk past Station 41 and through the market, past the Boogie Street spearhead to the other side.
Hello again, esteemed officer, and welcome to Crime, Romance. Oh, I'm very sorry, sir. Some of these old paperbacks just don't have the durability. I would be happy to sell you another one, but...
You see a set of tattered curtains blocking the way to another.
Excuse me, officer. The back room is strictly for employees only. Nothing. Now please go back to...
She speaks almost as if she's trying to put a spell. Oddly enough, the more she tries to draw you away from the curtain, you see some kind of charm, an irregular polyhedron assembled from bones, sticks, and straw. Inside, a disturbing fish head with empty eyes. This is a traditional Seminese ward, meant to provide protection against inhabitants of Elysium. The Seminine, aside from poking at it suspiciously, there is nothing else to do with the fish. The curtains tattered with age. Just as you're about to pull apart the curtains, the
Sir, don't touch that! I told you it's off limits. Parapsychologically speaking, we're done if you decide to open them. I won't be held responsible for the consequence.
She looks away, mumbling. Why is everyone always messing with the curtains? Why can't they just buy books like normal people?
Why? It's not like anyone was killed there. I am sorry. I don't mean to be so impolite.
The curtains do seem frail suddenly.
Everybody suddenly needs something from there. Leave the curtains be. It's what it wants. You do? My God, even more reasons not to mess with the curtains. No!
Talking is always good. Ghost, the curtains, tattered with age and covered in dust, hang before you, as if taunting you.
Hello again, esteemed officer. I already told you, it's just a storage room for... Just let it go, officer.
She recites it like it's a poem, or like she's playing. She's so tense, it's a miracle she hasn't snapped in half yet.
It's just for decoration. Okay, fine. It's just because this place is cursed. Just like... Are you happy now, officer?
Host of hosts, she prays.
It's not good to talk about the curse, not in detail.
Wow. Void raves. You have new words.
The curse is so much worse than you could imagine. It's a disease. It's the curse of financial distress, of ruin. But officer, there's There's nothing natural. There's something wrong with this building, I can tell you. Ever since I arrived, I've sensed an eerie lingering. Most certainly not.
My liege, you know what this case calls for? A para-detective. Slither up to her, you silver-tongued fiend. Show her what world-class perfidy looks like.
Are you sure? Don't think you're no para-detective.
You look like one. The lieutenant keeps his usual stony calm. He silently picks out his notebook.
How do you...
Here we go.
You're part Simonese. Oh, it means our meeting couldn't have been mere chance. But I am not the only one at risk. I have to think of my daughter. You are certain you can help us? Keep us safe?
Oh, certainly so, ma'am.
If you promise, good officer, then you might be our last hope. Do you swear? Thank you, sir. There's one more thing I haven't told you about yet. The entity.
Do not act surprised. You know of these things, sire.
You have? The entity takes the form of a woman, a witch probably. I've suspected that she must be connected to the curse ever since I first saw her. Did you know that she lives inside the chimney? Yes, that chimney is part of the building's central furnace, and it's enormous. She has some unnatural magic, I assume. Oh, and please do return to me after you've looked round. I'm quite...
What you discover? Probably just office space. And the damn fridge. Don't be scared. You see a set of tattered curtains blocking... You see...
Oh!
A heavy door with a missing handle stands before you, covered in dozens, if not hundreds. After exerting some force, you manage to turn the key.
What is this place? Yes, but no one's been here in ages. I doubt the electricity still works. Good thing we have...
Some specks of dust shimmer in a faint beam of daylight falling from the window. Other than that, the room is dark.
Sounds good.
Barbell lies on the floor. It's 60 kilograms. Your triceps hum at the sight of these weights. Show the world what kind of beast it's dealing with. There are no collars on the barbell. This is a safety hazard.
You're right. The weight may fall off. Better not touch it then. It would be a violation of EPIS safety regulations if the gym was still operating. It's dark. And the flashlight works a lot better if you hold it in your hand. Right. Now let's get to it.
Some areas are inaccessible without your flashlight. After you've acquired it, go to your...
This appears to be some kind of machine with a cube-shaped heart and a wired frame.
A radio computer. Just sitting here without anyone inside.
What he means is that these things cost money. Why would anyone just...
But we are looking for a fridge, and we are pressed for...
On the other hand, it's not that I'm not interested in abandoned radio computers. This is the Ream Civic radio computer, model RC5120, equipped with a Feld mainframe and a Ream-compatible...
Maybe the body has stopped decomposing somehow. I don't know. You're in charge of this expedition of...
You can always do it after the fridge. This old fireplace is... The whole thing resembles Kadran mosaic tiles. History classes, students with their textbooks open. Radio frequencies, it seems. UKV 123.6. Unclear. It looks like a cardiovascular system, perhaps. They must have had massive air width. These things don't... Whoever decides to call in to a call-in station. Look, a list of names under the stations suggests people across 6 Isolas would be playing. Muindi, Insulinda. There's no way a little basement studio working here could pull...
My God. It's as if the less money they had, the more ambitious their project became. Exactly. This schedule, I know doom when I see it. The company was running out of funding.
Nothing. It's just lines on marble. An echo from time. Your flashlight slides. Some of the writing has faded. The photo color. Entire. You see primitive oil rigs built into glaciers. Boreal Dvorg. Albeit dark and cold. This vision also feels... A pinned postcard read. This is... It looks a bit like an academic calendar. Only Minimi stands for a mini-meeting. It's part of a bigger framework for managing work called Your Eyes Glide. These light translude. You should adopt one of those Welkins as your persona. No longer one of the Welkins, towering. It's Vara Hamira, a high Welkin, his face white and scarred like cracked marble. The Haldor, the Tworg.
An inordinate amount of time has gone into drawing these little Welkin creatures. Just look at those details. So much effort.
The handwriting is only partly legible. The full text read. An iron safety curtain curves before your eyes, folded. As before, what an odd thing to do. Still nothing. Those curtains prove to be surprisingly sturdy. If this is really an entrance to the chimney, then there must be a furnace somewhere as well.
Can you please try to refrain from attacking random things? Thanks. In any case, this...
thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black. You see a terrifying ice bear with a strange compartment in its belly. The door is covered in frost. The bear looks oddly realistic. Is it taxidermy? This must be the fridge you were told about. Look inside. A gust of freezing cold air rushes to greet you. You hear a low grumble as the lieutenant takes a peek inside. His hand has found the hole.
Of course, a giant ice bear-shaped fridge. Just what we were looking for.
The shelves are empty. All you see are crumpled ice cream wrappers with the brand name, Revachol Ice City. A handwritten note has been attached to the door. The fridge is huge. You pocket the note and the little fridge magnets keeping it on the door. A friendly cartoon. The paper still smells of vanilla and chocolate.
Good question. It looks like an ice cream fridge. I know. What an unfortunate marketing choice. What is even worse, the bear is still costing them money to this day.
The fridge buzzes with...
It's certainly an eccentric choice, but it is capacious and cold.
Your visual confirms you could fit 2 more bodies in the ice bear.
Shall we go and get the body then?
The body is heavier than you expected and stinkier. It takes half an hour to get the down to the butcher. Then 10 more minutes to stuff it into the fridge. The lieutenant takes a step back.
Beautiful. A dead body in an ice bear fridge. This is some of the best police work I've ever done.
You have created an ice bear sarcophagus.
Talk of the ice bear sarcophagus must not leave this room. Did we though? Okay, maybe we did. At least we've stopped the body from decomposing further. Now you can conduct another inspection under controlled...
Inside the icy realm of the ice bear fridge, the corpse stands slumped, waiting. Two cables are plugged into the breaker box. The red one leads to the ice bear fridge, and the black one to the ice cream maker nearby. The note is written with a blue pencil on a piece of lined...
Does it say anything interesting?
This is tangential at best, but the lieutenant's detective... Someone has scribbled. S. I can't believe the off-site copy is still here. The illiterate ginger kid keeps stealing stuff from the studio, so I had to hide it somewhere. You'll find the filament memory with the off-site copy in the frozen ice cream maker. Please take it home, ASAP. It's important. I'd do it myself if I lived in a civilized place with a freezer. Take care, Sully Swaff.
I don't know. I assume it's somewhere close to the iceberg.
Didn't you see one right next to the breaker box?
Someone who owns a radio computer? My guess.
Which is to say, not very good. This orange machine is buzzing like an old submarine. It has a hand-cranked ice cream churner on top. Turning the crank feels oddly satisfying, like stirring your childhood dreams. In the distance, you hear water dripping. You slip your finger. No, this is going to need something else. Some kind of super pry bar. Don't even try to open it with a regular. If you want to try again, then you need to have the pry bar in your hand.
Equip the pry bar by going to the tool.
This orange machine is buzzing like an old submarine. A thick layer of coal dust.
Looks like it. Looks like an old central furnace used to heat the building. It's connected to the... No one has used it in ages. No signs of any recent fire.
It's dark and grimy. The echo is so prominent. It's impossible to discern.
What are you doing? Wait, really? Maybe it's coming from behind those safety curtains we saw upstairs.
A lush layer of... Maybe you could paint something with this coal. Leave a cave painting for future archaeologists. No, that would be stupid.
You're right. The rooms do look like they're connected. But malignant entities don't exist. At least not the...
Always has to be the skeptic, this man. A thick layer of coal dust. A hollow ring echoes through the furnace. Your toe hurts. A thick layer of coal dust covers. Something breaks loose in you. A mighty bellow echoes throughout the chimney's depths.
Hello? Hello? Did you say anything? I can't hear you. Please come upstairs. There's a safety curtain on the second floor.
You hear a low rumble upstairs. The sound of...
After you, officer. Yes? What do you want to know? Ah, yes. The case brief you missed. 3 days ago, the RCM Emergencies Desk received a report about a security guard who was found hanged in Martinez. An anonymous caller said there was a dead body behind the Whirling in Rags hostel cafeteria. The cadaver had been there for 4 days. No one had. During that time, the victim had been stripped of his belongings. The caller did not identify him, but used the word Lin. They didn't identify themselves in any way. There's a strong prejudice against involving the RCM in what's seen as union matters. The Dock Workers Union is the de facto police in Martinez. Now it appears they've started executing too. We cannot allow that. That's right. No, it's not a particularly mysterious case.
The lieutenant adjusts his collar. It doesn't look like he wants the case.
I'm afraid you and I are pawns in a pissing competition. You don't know? I assumed you were in on it. Better still than an imbecilic cop-off. What's there to say? It's just stupidity. The cop kind. Our precincts can't decide if Martinez is part of Jamrock or the Industrial Harbor. Yours or mine, as if we somehow own parts of the city. Typical street gang mentality. So we've let the Union make a mockery of law enforcement here. And now it's come to its natural... Well, sort of. I think the dispatch...
So he volunteered to represent the 57th, but not out of competitiveness. Somewhere in your mind hangs a dark green blackboard. There are two columns. One says, cases solved. The other, confirmed kills.
Yes, it's a wholly pointless matter. Forget I ever mentioned it.
The bear's eyes are still glowing red. It's guarding over the freezing corpse hidden inside its belly. The bear's eyes are still glowing red. You touch the dead man's body. His skin is cold.
It'll come to you sooner or later. At least he's safe here until then.
The bear's eyes are still glowing red. You touch the...
It'll come to you sooner or later.
The bear's eyes are still glowing. You touch the dead man.
It'll come to you sooner or later.
The bear's eyes are still glowing. You touch the dead...
It'll come to you sooner or...
The bear's eyes are still glowing red. You touch the dead man's body. His skin is cold, like...
It'll come to you sooner.
The bear's eyes are still glowing. You touch... The bear's eyes are still glowing. You touch the... The bear's eyes are still glowing. You touch... The bear's eyes are still glowing. You touch... The bear's eyes are still glowing red. You touch the dead...
It'll come to you sooner or later.
The bear's eyes are still glowing. You The bear's eyes are still. You touch the dead man's body. His skin is... The bear's eyes are still glowing. Your arm reaches out and your eyes close, as if by their own volition. It's dark all around. You feel cold, dead flesh through the latex glove. It's right under the palm of your hand. His face, his cheeks, his nose, his fat, swollen lips. Like a rubber spider, your gloved hand crawls on his features. Everything is silent, all around. They are swollen shut. You need to really push to get in. You're not far. It'll come to you. Keep crawling. The oral cavity is cold and moist. A ball-like tongue attaches itself to the base of the mouth, lolling around like a scallop. A vision of black and dark red death, pried open by your hands and studded with teeth. Looks like he's laughing. Death, you see a hole, barely visible to the human eye. It is swollen shut, almost, an abrasion collar. This is what we're after.
Abrasion collar.
A black trickle of liquid runs into his throat from the wound. Your index fits right in there. A tight tunnel of flesh opens up. Tissue damage. Wide enough for 2 fingers. As you push both in, you reach through his mouth, right into his brainstem. The basal ganglia feels clumpy. This man will never sleep again. Never wake. Your yellow fingers slide into the remains of the limbic system. There is no resistance. It's gelatinous. The slug-like structures are damaged. This is what he used to regulate his emotions with. The lieutenant answers with the sound of his... Your fingers are all the way in now, reaching toward the inside of his skull. The cavity goes further, but the entry wound isn't wide enough for the rest of your hand. Your fingers reach toward his skull. His cerebral cortex feels like jelly. Cold jelly. Strange fluid streams down your wrist as you push deeper until you feel it on ice-cold serrated metal. Its edges cut right through the latex and into your finger.
Can you get to it?
There's a tiny crack, a protrusion in the cranium. The object that is in there stops just short of the skull, in the encephalus, knocking this tiny fracture into the crown.
We have the makings of a very small exit wound here.
You pick the object between your index and middle finger. It feels sharp, like metal. With your face twisting from pain and concentration, all you need... The inside of the head feels cold and smooth, like a glove. Sweat dripping down your brow. Careful with a plop. Your hand emerges from the mouth. The garden glove is covered in blood right up to the wrist. Between your fingers...
A bullet.
The bullet falls in the bag, leaving a smattering of blood on the plastic. He raises the bag under his eyes and says,
A non-caliber. Rifled. Some kind of brittle alloy. Fractured on impact. No, you deserve it. We can log it later. We need to add an item to the injury list. Injury number 4. Oval entry wound with an abrasion collar. Soft palate, back of mouth. High velocity. Temporary cavity in brain tissue. Small exit wound on the occiput. Opinion, fatal injury. And one last thing. We should amend injury number 3. Ligament mark. New opinion, non-fatal. Post-mortem. Treatment.
He's proposing the bullet was the real cause of death, and the hanging an attempt to conceal this fact.
Yes, and the belt around his neck, the hanging, even dragging him to the yard. All of it was done after this man was already dead. I have had my doubts since you showed me the tracks. Why did they carry him over? Why not march him, I thought. There was no satisfying explanation. There have been other signs too. Small details. Everything is too neatly designed for us to assign probable cause here, as we did, full-heartedly. Well, no more. To hide something, that's for us to find out. But this, it will make finding them just a little... Yes, we should take a closer look at it.
This little thing could reveal much about the weapon that shot it.
Oh, you really, really do. I am glad to hear you say that. Your room in the Whirling in Rags should come with a bathroom. Be sure to make use of it in the evening. We put him in a bag and carry him to the holding pen of my kinema. I would drive him to processing, but it's too late to do that today. One more thing. This was really good work, Detective.
The bear's eyes are...
All right. I will need a little help carrying him.
The bullet is safely sealed away.
What? Well, if I was the bullet, which I'm not, I would say find the weapon. If we find who owns it, we will have likely found who used it. But in conclusion, the more we know about this bullet of yours...
The jacket of the... You can just about make out a few striations near the base of the bullet. Little hairlines, linear. It feels... You can just about... It's quite destroyed.
What can you say about the bullet so far? A jacketed bullet. Okay. It would have been shot from a military-grade breech-loading rifle, not from a muzzleloader like those typically found on the street.
Highly unusual. The people of Revachol haven't carried breech-loading weapons like this for nearly half a century.
Even the RCM uses ordinary unjacketed conical bullets. This is strange. Very strange. I like this, officer. Strange means unique. Unique means incriminating. We need to find the gun that shot it.
The squashed, you wouldn't ordinarily have cause to handle jacketed bullets. The citizens' militia uses cast bullets only. Little... The bullet is still safely sealed away. A rifle, revolutionary period. Your bullet looks to be an old 4.46mm from the surplus left over from the turn of the century. Probably an antique or a retrofitted. The 4.46 caliber was widely used with the Belmargrave rifle, a Revacholian manufacturer. The BM dominated the battlefields of the Insulindian theater of the anti-centennial revolution. 50 years? No, but Zeliger, a major firearm manufacturer, ended up with a surplus after the war. So there are still a lot of these old military rifles floating around, usually broken. Antiques enthusiasts, guerrilla fighters in distant countries, a few lucky jamrock bangers. You're...
What are you thinking? Bullet? Okay. And? An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breech-loading rifles floating around in Martinez, or I have to hand it to the monarchs. It's quite admirable that they took the advice of criminologists last century and banned the use of breech loaders in peace. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end.
Prohibiting peacetime law enforcement to front-loaded rifles is a policy enforced by the Moralist International in all the nations of the Real Belt.
Imagine if everyone, cops, citizens, had access to firearms that could shoot multiple rounds without pausing to reload. After the first shot, the second, third, and so on come much easier. But back to the investigation. Let's find out. Next step, finding the gun itself. Okay, an antique. Sure, there's some new...
Prohibiting?
Imagine it, but back to the investigation. Doesn't seem that likely.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers. Kim also tries not to look at the pile of taped viscera on the carpet, or the weird. The man is finding it hard not to trip on the tape, and not to send any of the bottles where unidentifiable sludge makes it hard for him to breathe. Smells of vomit in here.
No problem, officer.
A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it, your face, adorned with the expression. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it, the faucet is quite terribly mangled. You handle the chain cutters, told you that you needed those chain cutters. The mirror begins to clear slowly without you having to wipe it. It's too late, like an image on film.
Yes? Me? I don't see how my life is pertinent. That's a fair point. That's correct.
You feel a slight urge to put the lieutenant...
I guess you don't need glasses, then. That's because I'm half Sale. It's a part of...
Sale is a protectionist, isolationist, pan-East...
You're barking at the wrong tree.
A point of pride to him.
Good. Let's change the subject. Excuse me? You have a distinctive way of walking. If I were to walk in front of you, we would surely collide. I hope you don't... They say it's...
Yes, but containers contain things, shiny things. There, he simply nods. You see a heavy steel door. The door does the cobalt old coat. It leads to a...
Can I help you?
We're still waiting for a replacement for the bull. What is this? Are you mocking us? This isn't for pétanque.
Now. No need to get angry again, René. I'm sure the officer tried his best. It's not like there's a bull kiosk here in Martinez.
The best, huh? This isn't even a bull. But fine. I guess you did attempt to right your hooliganism. Consider it for... Unfortunately, I don't. In Martinez, cop is a pejorative term. I don't have a problem with policemen. On the contrary...
He doesn't know about the crime. Your time is better spent discussing politics.
If I knew...
'Tis true, sire.
The lights are so pretty when it gets dark.
You're alive and well. Don't keep me waiting now. Yes?
Tell her how ghastly it was. You know it's what she wants to hear.
I knew it. Oh, such horrors that have been thrust upon us. But what else did you find?
You don't have anything of substance to tell her until you found that entity of hers.
It's dark, and the flashlight works.
The dusty radio, the machine lights up like some prehistoric animal stirring. It's empty. The filament you have would like a smooth draw. The filament, a bar of fabric right above the key. The static gets louder, slowly filling up the abandoned hook.
Good evening, Fortress Accident en rue de Saint-Ghislaine. This is, please repeat, is this the production schedule? Fortress Accident is the company on whose name the terminal. One moment. Fortress Accident SCA.
That's not bad.
Any other questions? Yes, I am alive. I am 74 years old and...
She repeats passwords. Programming people are all paranoid.
I work as a repeater at the East Insulindian repeater station. It's my job to know where you are, Fortress Accident. As for me, well, I am sitting in my cubicle. Now please tell me the reason for your call, Fortress Accident. The filament you have inserted into the reader. Yes. Is that the production schedule? Good. Please repeat the password. Received. I will write.
Don't worry. Passwords have a way of turning up sooner or later.
Fortress Accident. Is there anything else? Thank you and goodbye.
Tiles on the cube are still nothing happens. The filament slides out of its glowing nest.
Okay, what do you think is going on with that computer, chalkboard, and fireplace? No, that's not it. I think...
Like he's ready to lay out a fine theory, crafted...
It looks like one of those popular pen and paper role-playing games. Only these people were trying to automate it, make it work on radio computers. No idea. They stopped filling out the schedule on the chalkboard. Through call-in stations, none of the players have to be physically present. Anyone in the world can participate in the game, as long as they have a two-way radio. Then there's the game master frequency that listens in on the smaller call-in stations. I think that was supposed to coordinate the stories, functioning as a master.
Coordinating so many games would take a whole switchboard of people, possibly divided into sub-frequencies.
Not to my knowledge.
Not in Revachol West, among the ruins.
But I don't think anyone... Indeed.
Super cool.
Indeed. It's ambitious and untethered from reality, but... I don't think so. I think they genuinely believed. Okay, let's keep moving.
Tiles on the cube are
Hello, I'm Nia. Did you try knocking on my window? I must have missed you. I've been listening to my Milius. So what kind of die are you looking for?
She's got a direct view to the backyard. You should interrogate her about the lynching.
Yes, Amelia is like a call-in station. You need a two-way radio to access one. That's why I have these. Mostly, they just teach you to swear in different languages. Then how did you get inside? By the south entrance? You know what? It doesn't even matter. What matters is that you're finally here. Let's talk dice. Did you have something specific in mind? I'm a novelty dice maker. Tell me the name of your role-playing system and I'll make the die you need.
Role-playing games? You know the one made by Fortress Accident. Does that count?
Very good. My rate is 10 real per set. Unless you want something really unusual. Take a look around and see if there's...
It almost looks as if the stones and dice are a natural part of the room, growing out of the... No falsehoods are present. She's a novelty dice maker and doesn't have anything to hide.
Nothing really.
The lieutenant looks at his notebook. Then, the woman under the large window.
Your window looks directly onto the courtyard. You're saying you didn't see or hear anything?
I'm sorry, detective, but as you know, I usually have my headphones on when I'm working. It shuts out most of the daily ruckus behind my window. It's an odd profession, making dice for people, but I like it. And I prefer doing this to sitting at home. I might have, but in this case, all I would have seen is my own reflections.
It's light here, but dark in the yard at night.
It's really hard to make anything out in the yard when it's dark outside. Well, during daytime, there are usually those kids. And lately, I've been seeing a lot of drunk workers hanging about.
She's heard of the murder, but did not see it, sire.
But I never saw any...
She nods.
Anything else, officer? How did I become one? It was a business decision. I was a regular jeweler at first. Some of my friends were role players, not especially.
Some of those nice people have big bucks to spend on novelty items.
We're inside the chimney of an old central furnace. It's strange, I know. But when I arrived here, all the other rooms were taken, so I had to build myself a makeshift home. Besides, I don't really have to pay any rent here, so that's a plus.
Creative.
When she arrived here, there was no room anywhere else. She must have known the other businesses.
More or less. Are you interested in anyone specific? It wasn't merely a gym, it was Artemitep's boxing club. A community project created to steer at-risk youth away from drugs and crime. Kuno. Who's Kuno? Oh, you mean the kid with the sailor's mouth? Yes, I've heard him yelling profanities in the... I think it would take more than a gym to help that kid. A kind man, from Zemsk. I heard he had some It didn't. If anything, it made... Eventually, the coalition took away the funding and the club went bankrupt. Oh boy, the fabled Revo Show ICT. You're in for a treat here. The place was owned by two guys who had some rather innovative ideas about marketing. The bear was one of them.
Indeed. What were the other ideas?
There was really just one, and it involved picking out the prettiest girls in the neighborhood and paying them 20 cents per hour to man the booth. And by man the booth, I mean slump behind the counter with a face that could maim you if you ever dared to disturb their bored magazine browsing. Oh, but they did. They did show up to work, and not alone. There were also acne-ridden girlfriends and gorilla-like boyfriends loitering near, and they already had the bear. Of course not. The bear was terrifying. No one wants ice cream guarded by a hostile apex predator. To make matters worse, the fridge didn't work too well either, and half the ice cream came out. Eventually, Ravishell Ice City lost the price war to its rival, Glacé 5000. Glacé 5000 sold caramel sundaes for only 5 cents a piece, out of regular fridges. Maybe, because the taxidermist who made the bear definitely wasn't. Doing his job, I mean. He said that the bear was his vision beast. He said he met his vision beast while high on desiccants. Called it Mega.
Sounds cool.
It's an imaginary beast that guides by telling you to do more drugs, mostly. Very good. You shouldn't do them. You're a police officer. Anyway, now you know the story of anything else? Another failed? Yes, I think it was called Androgynous Orlando or something similar. They weren't a big hit around here. Turns out that working class...
A bit of experimenting every now and then. It's not about the haircut. It's about the comfort.
I guess it just wasn't the time yet. Oh, this one's a mess. There used to be a company that promised to repair windows 24 hours a day. What could go wrong with it? Turns out, the business was actually set up as a front for an illicit group that was producing snuff milias. Who would have...
What's the snuff mill?
And they never cleaned up the debris either. Now it's a Sub Rosa radio station that broadcasts real murders with real victims. Some people pay good money to get off on it.
Nothing changes in her tone as she says that. As if it's...
Don't worry, the ICP has a separate division that deals exclusively with unlicensed sub-roses. This isn't our...
Good luck with that. It's not easy catching those perpetrators. You mean Mr. Fabron, the taxidermist? Anything else? There used to be a fashion atelier here, but I have forgotten the head designer's name. They were doing well for a couple of years, until the insect rights activists came. The atelier produced a certain collection that used chitin among the materials. Apparently chitin is made in the Occident, where it's extracted from beetle wings. And you know how all kinds of political movements are big in the Occident. The activists shut down the biggest chitin and, naturally, all the most fashionable tastemakers refused to be seen in chitin from then on. The atelier went bankrupt before they could finish the collection. Really? Anyway. They were made by a company called... Honestly, I think it's quite the usual.
Men like that are a curse.
Sure, but Slipstream is history now. I have no idea why those...
Maybe you could make a sword out of one.
Fortress Accident, the radio game studio. They were an interesting bunch. We talked about role-playing systems every now and then. Once, I even saw...
That's understandable. Fantasies are serious things.
They certainly took their work very seriously. The usual. They ran out of money and couldn't get the project done on time. Well, I did hear them talking at times.
They seem to believe they were historical individuals on some grand...
She sounds almost mocking when she says that.
Yes, but when the money started to run out, they just began to complain a lot about it. In the end, they just didn't get it done. They didn't have enough willpower to produce something truly historic. And to show up, not the wisest decision. You would have lost all your...
The result is 1.
Anything else? Good. I hope it clarified things a bit. What else? I've heard the stories, but I don't think those stories are true. Plaisance, the bookshop lady? I've heard that her business is doing rather well. Have the energy spared her somehow? All right. But it's not just the bookstore that's still up and running. What about the whirling in racks? Some people say it's part of the building complex. You could say so. Both houses were built at the same time and under the East of the Commerce Central project. And then there is me. I've been here for 14 years, selling novelty dice to role-playing enthusiasts. Not exactly a million-real business idea, yet somehow I've survived this.
Maybe it's just because she's so talented that she's been able to woo the curse.
I was just about to ask, what do you think? Do you think the curse is real? Exactly. Truth is always so disappointingly mundane, but I'm glad we got this sorted out. And
That's all she has to say on the subject. She's been thorough and truthful. The bookstore closes starting 2100. You'll have to do that tomorrow. You feel nothing. If anything, it's uncomfortably warm in here. She has begun to idly clean one of her carvings.
I'm listening. Good. I hope...
Hey. Psst. Psst. Hey. Yes, you. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again. Yes, you're ready to start building communism again. You've built it before. They've built it before. Hasn't really worked out yet. But neither has love. Should we just stop building love, too? Good. We need tender men like you building gargantuan communism. Word on the street is it's going to be 10,000 times larger than any You keep saying things like, down with the bourgeoisie, eat the rich, sodomize the landowners, impale all people who have more than 25 real in their pocket, literally murder all human beings regardless of their political beliefs. That kind of stuff. Okay, not in so many words, but don't deny it. You're about to rip off that mask of social democracy and reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that will devour, and everyone can see that. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it? Very well. I guess no one will build communism then. Tell the working man it's over. Unless anyone has... Anyone? There's no one. Okay then, lie down. Aces low. For the rest of the world, The Ace's Low is just some cool Revachol thing, politically neutral. In Revachol, it still holds revolutionary connotations. Also, have you looked at Lieutenant Kitsuragi's clothes? He wears a bomber jacket, just like the ones worn by aerostatic. A few bricks have fallen off, revealing a compartment behind the wall. It's too dark to see it.
Seems like an old bunker from the revolutionary period. Look at all there is, yes. And there also appears to be something inside.
Your hand reaches deep into darkness and spiderwebs. Most of them are rusty and inoperable, like the rest. But one catches your eye. A bolt-action model with a fine...
That's a rare sight. Seems to no longer be functional, but still a beautiful thing in its own way. It's the same type of weapon, yes, a breech loader. But it's not the same gun. This one's been out of order for years. I'm afraid our search for... It means there are firearms, albeit inoperable, still lying around in Martinez. It's an interesting coincidence, I would say.
Can I help you? Yes. Have you got? Like what?
Yes?
Because you're the best qualified. No, that doesn't seem right. You look dumb if you keep the lieutenant waiting for too long.
Hello again, sweetie.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone.
This is Precinct 57. How may I assist you? Sir, officer. What? Got it. I'll contact the ICP database immediately.
The International Collaboration Police, ICP, is an inter-Isolari law enforcement service, the crown jewel in the moral intern diadem.
No, and I doubt they'll get back to me before tomorrow morning. Anything else? '57's over and out.
In the cabin, you see a set of steering levers, a radio. The white suede feels your fingers waste no time closing around the handle. The smell, I'm good. Cherry at the bottom of the sea. So strange. The machine is not. The handle is pulled back. Some in the cabin, you see a set of steering levers. As you tap on.
No, that's enough fun with the foldable headlights. I know they are mesmerizing. They're also fragile.
Now it's turning into a kind of a snow limbo, man.
Right to work! Right to... Honest man, we came here.
I have a question. Why do all these men follow your lead?
You think they follow because I'm big and loud? No. They follow the... We were promised work. Main gate's locked. And I don't mean the scrawny mess punk either. I mean headman. Why don't you...
It would be better for the neighborhood if you went home. At least for now. If you can't get in anyway.
No. They will. When a bunch of beats me.
There's something odd in the way he carries himself. His set of clothing looks vaguely mismatched. The different pieces of the attire seem ill-fitting. His shirt is far too small, and he ignores your question. Silence is the answer. There's something off. You've been talking to him for quite a while now.
What's it to you? No. Don't think we've met.
Every once in a while, it's like you can see glimpses.
We're all workers, right? Workers stick together. Came from the eminent domain, in Jamrock. Backgrounds in odd... Worked at Territorial. Ring a bell? We're done here. I have a strike to break. Right to work! Things are busy enough.
The hulking man oozes stark skepticism.
You escape now? I was just messing with you. Imagine. Speaking of, what brings the RCM here? To the Wild North? Come to see the strife? You know.
He's a chatty guy.
We should think about calling it a day, maybe. The nights are still miserably cold this time of year. You should take care of that, then. Let's talk to him anyway. An officer of the RCM shouldn't be sleeping in the street. We'll figure something out.
Welcome to Frit. Feel free to...
What's that magazine she's reading?
You mean this? This is Pop Stars. It's got, like...
Looks like it also has something called Police de la Mode, featured on page 34. This speaks to you. She pops her raspberry-flavored bubblegum. Her shoulders tense. The lieutenant frowns at you before turning to the clerk with an apologetic half-smile.
Okay. I'm not really supposed to be chatting to anyone, but... A warehouse? I don't know. Maybe. I don't really care what...
She scrunches up her face.
Fine. Frit doesn't have a warehouse. Just a little back room here. Okay? I don't really know anything. I mean, I know it's there, but I haven't seen it. Not really. I don't know, really.
No need to worry.
Okay. Uh-huh.
A small cabinet. Their logo is the...
Just ask me if you need anything from St. Baptiste. We don't stock prescription meds, but we do have Nosafed, Duramine, Magnesium, and Hypnogamma.
A colourful... The bottles wink there, in that dark green glass. All in vain. The great flowing river of warmth.
Can I help you? Another thing. Great. Yes. Yes. Have you got it? Does that arrangement include you paying me what we already agreed you owe me?
I understand your predicament as the manager. However, I feel I must remind you that we are here to conduct an important investigation that also affects your business.
Forgive me for saying this, but your colleague seems more committed to drinking, and I mean no offense. It's really nothing personal. I just have to protect the interests of this establishment. Good luck trying to use it.
Draconian measures.
All the locks have an electronic component. They have to be unlocked down here with a master. Not until you bring me the money.
Okay. I might have something in my motor carriage we can use when you're done here.
Oh, Lieutenant, we're done here.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio mic.
I have something here we could sell. Look in the back, in the...
Transporting clothes. The cage at the back of the motor carriage looks rather uncomfortable. 4 shiny...
I confiscated this for a little while back. We can take them to the pawn shop down by the Martinez Canal. A couple of weeks ago, I stopped a young man for going slower than the speed of traffic. Turns out he was some coalition official's son and high. I took them and arrested him for driving under the influence. I don't know. Is it? I was going to take them into evidence, but they weren't necessary for conviction. He never asked for them back.
The lieutenant nods as you take the spinners. Crumpled, the sign billboard had fallen on the waterlock. Judging by the size of the impact and the parallel lines of burnt rubber, the cause was probably a motor vehicle. These looked like the same type. Side slip marks indicated that the vehicle was traveling up the crater at 30. The panel served. The sign broke the Samaran within the past 72 hours. Still speeding. The vehicle saw the black marks on the. There are two good candidates. The Capri, it's about the right size. And the tire marks look like the Caprice Ford, very sturdy but light motor carriage. More likely than most to survive that. The lean air, you'd have to follow the tracks to be sure. The lieutenant looks on, waiting.
Any theories about what happened here? What kind of car do you think it was? That's quite likely, from what I can tell. We're not traffic cops. Should we get back to the murder?
A couple of this panel, you pull, nothing happens. Nothing happens. A spring brings the leaf. Wasn't there a sign over there saying functionality will be restored on Wednesday morning? You see rows of toy soldiers guarding the rest of the trinket. Why? What's this?
Oh, that's the Headless phone. There's been a lot of...
He doesn't...
I've heard about it.
Yes, the Headless phone, 50 cents. But...
The boombox is on the shelf. One is just make sure it works before.
It's not often that I see officers from the Ars. What can I do for you? I haven't had any problems myself.
Who are your customers usually?
All kinds of people come through here. As you can see, I have a wide selection of goods for everyone to choose from. It keeps me...
He's well composed, but underneath it you sense psychedelic processes bubbling. Some kind of drug, maybe. Okay, he definitely is high. Looking at his wares, talking to him, that might give you more clues.
Someone else came here earlier today asking the same question. I promptly sold her the gun you pawned a couple days.
This is a pawn shop, and it did feel as if you've met before. The lieutenant shifts from one foot to another, alert.
She didn't seem like a policeman, although she kept referring to herself as a pig, which was odd. I found her interest in the gun a bit. Truth be told.
Right, so let me get this right. You sold your sidearm, issued by the citizens' militia, and now a civilian is running around the streets of Martinez with it? You're right that she could cast aspersions on the force. We have to find her.
My apologies, officer.
A needle in a haystack. There is nothing you can do about it now. You'll just have to hope you luck upon her somehow.
Of course. I doubt it, but I can try and answer any question. He's been by the shop a couple of times.
There was something awfully deliberate about that lady.
They weren't the most, but I bowed out at some point. I prefer... He purchased a remarkably garish paperweight the first time he was here. He tried.
So you don't know what kind of arrangement?
As I said, I refused to talk to him.
He nods reluctantly.
I do my best to keep my...
He doesn't know anything. The pawnbroker's gaze is already fixed on the dancing colors.
Yes, we'd like to sell these hubcaps.
Roy takes the hubcaps from the lieutenant and inspects them. The spinners appear iridescent in the dark.
Yes, these are very, very...
No one was defrauded or jumped, I assure you.
Of course.
Thank you. Here's the 130 real you need for your bill. Do not waste it.
The rest is for him, to compensate for the pain of being separated from his radiant spinner.
Anything else you're thinking of selling? Anything else you're thinking of selling? Another time, perhaps.
Guillaume Le Million. Bad news. Guillaume Le Million. Wow. Oh yeah. The antlers on the hood of the man's cloak and his piercing blue.
It's the man
walking away from his burning village. Huh? Oh, I see. In fact,
Hyandal isn't a real.
Neither is the man.
Wow. What?
I help you? Yes, have you got it? Well? Great. Thank you, officer. That's all I wanted. Payment for services rendered. If you continue to stay here, I just ask that you please pay your nightly bill in advance, starting. The electronic lock to your room has been disabled till 9 p.m. tomorrow. Please pay for each night in advance, starting tomorrow. 20 real per night.
I'll take a room here too.
Of course. Always happy to.
This is the door to the room you...
Just a moment. We should talk about our progress on the investigation.
The air outside is brisk. The lieutenant is silent for a moment.
Now then, we should talk about the investigation. But I also feel you're a bit hazy on the RCM. Our role here, our rights, our jurisdiction, they're quite limited, actually. The power officers of the Revachol Citizens Militia exercise most frequently is imposing fines of up to 1,000 real for offenses, in accordance with an interdepartmental schedule. Yes, although indirectly, as citizens can always request records from their officers of the RCM have been known to take the RCM's prime. We can arrest people, of course, but rather than bringing someone in directly, it's preferable to serve a station call slip. It prevents confusion and overcrowding. You can't. Those who don't show up become fugitives, though, and have fewer legal rights. As you may have gathered from the fact that we are expected to carry a record of our kills, like the one in the watermarks, we are permitted to use whatever force is necessary, and strongly admonished not to abuse that power. We don't convict. We arrest and send them to coalition government. You have to supply compelling evidence for why it was necessary to use lethal force. In this case, not a good position. The coalition government. The RCM was formed by the coalition government to restore order in the international zone after the revolution. So we did. Now we attempt to maintain that order. Or perhaps it is better to say we were allowed to form. It's a point of contention whether the citizens of Revachol or the coalition government founded the RCM. Be sentimental if you like. Either way, the Morelinton leases us the right to keep the peace in this city. And they will...
Or if they think you do.
Well, we inspected the victim's body, so that's good. It was not easily approachable in that state. But I would say our initial inspection was very thorough. And we have solid leads to... Then you shot the body down, which was quite a shot. I admit I wasn't sure whether I should give you the gun, but I'm glad I did. Your shot enabled us to perform a field autopsy on the victim. Moreover, you found that the hanged man wasn't just hanged, he was also shot. That was some excellent detective work. And you managed to locate and pull out the bullet, so we can get ballistics, make up the gun. All this is invaluable. The rest is up to the boys in processing. Maybe they will surprise us by doing their job for once. We also performed a thorough search of the crime scene. All in all, we handled the situation very professionally. Now for the interviews. Not always the right people, I'm afraid. We weren't able to find the union leader, Everard Clare, much less interviewed him. So that's on the to-do list for tomorrow. We didn't talk to the Wildlands rep. We really must do that tomorrow. Above all, though, today was exhausting. What's with all the running? You run a lot. Is that a standard Precinct 41 practice? It's impressive, especially for a man your age. Nice shoes, by the way. I like the green. Goes with the orange. Yeah, it's getting very cold now. Let's go.
A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. This is not the cleanest bathtub in the world, but that soap scum smell. It smells like life. The bathtub, the water is only lukewarm, but still comforting, like amniotic fluid. A few beer cans are bobbing up and down along your... Now you are alone with your thoughts in the tub. But it's easier than being alone with your thoughts outside the tub. Your fingers grow pale, and you see the corpse. You can still smell the cadaver on you. It's going to take more than one bath. Then, houses along a narrow street. A video rental. Darkness on the planet's curve. The waterline recedes as you stand. The bed is cold.
The option to go to sleep becomes available every night after 9 p.m.
The sheets feel at once coarse and clammy against your skin. The bed sags beneath your weight, and then sleep. And then sleep doesn't come. Obviously, you're in bed with your eyes closed, but it's not. Maybe it's the bed's fault. It's a little better. Colors, scenes, and half-formed. Something to do with... What was it that the lieutenant said? Union? And it's gone again. Your thoughts lost. Your breathing steadies. A great silence washes over you until your eyelids twitch.
Do you remember the scent of your childhood? Do you remember your wife's hand on your face? Do you remember the warmth of her thighs, between her legs and in her mouth? Do you remember the warmth of her thighs, between her legs? Oh no, Funky baby, you stayed. It was the rest of it that left. Or you just stood there, with one hand. Tell me, where are your friends? Human beings have friends, Harry boy. Where the hell are they? Were only cramping your descent into the abyss. Now they're gone. 3 times gone, and never coming. You failed Elysium. Everything. The pale and the useless. Oh, no, you haven't. You're just sleep talking. And the act is wearing thin, too. The spots on the disco ball fade around. You'll be back in those cold snakeskins in no time. Stinky boy. You're not coming back from shit. Thrashing around it. You're trying to what? I can't hear you. So something is wrong. Sleep shouldn't be... Oh, time to go to work in the shit factory.
Good going, buddy. Yes, wait till you see the one with the chick in it. It's gonna be a good one. You feel even worse this morning than you did last night. You mean, why are you so tired? Too tired and damn. It's just that your heart has finally pumped all the speed out of your system, Buster. Don't do that. Stay strong. The hangover will wear off. You don't need to keep doing this to yourself. Are you sure? ready to live as this pathetic shell of yourself for days. Basically, a week. Suit yourself, slow, sad shell man. See how you do with that. This fan has 2 chain pull switches. One ends in a tiny. You reach out to grab them. This is bad. Feels like sharp stones grinding for quite a long time. Still ongoing. Finally, the blades come squeak. The lights are on. The lights are off again. You swoop up and catch the top. What you have in your hand.
Morning. I've got some good news. I took care of the body. The thought of him decomposing in my MC wouldn't let me sleep. I'm just glad he's gone. We have other...
The lieutenant is downplaying his contribution. He got up before sunrise to get this done. And
the Union muscle finally turned up, and they look rowdy. We need to talk to them. One more thing before we do. We don't have to talk to them immediately. We can walk right past them, continue with our business.
yeah, streetwise. Zoom right past. But aren't you curious to know what they have?
They're in no hurry to leave. They think they own the place. Anyway, I leave that choice to you.
Over here. Let me handle this. Detective disorientated. Are you still wondering where you are?
Her entire character has shifted. This young woman is cold as ice.
Yes, extremely normal. I'm not a gardener, by the way. I'm a legal counselor for the dock workers. So let's get to it. You're looking for Titus Hardy? You think he has information that will help you? Maybe he does. That's Titus. Talk to him. But know this. I'll be keeping an eye on you. No strong arming. Nothing official. The district...
It doesn't matter if you recognize our authority. We will make an arrest if we have to.
She says nothing. Her glare speaks for her.
What you want is of no significance, officer. Don't test your authority. In Martinet?
This is where you say your bed.
Detective.
Hey, dipshit. You hard of hearing or something? The boss man's talking to you.
Do not let their squeals disturb your serenity. These are but simple peasants, sire.
Oh, this is about him. A real...
You sure took your time, huh? Waited for him to get real ripe and pretty.
Oh, he was a real pretty boy. Hanging up there, letting out that pretty boy smell.
I can't for the life of me understand why you did it. I mean, I would have just left him up there.
You might want to start asking your questions now. It's not going to get better than this.
Do a head count first. Connect these men to the tracks you saw in the yard. Chances are they're going to match. Starting from the right, boot size sitting on his right, across at the... He spent his youth in Villalobos and then standard working boot. The emblem on his vest says, in the far corner, standard working boot, steel reinforced toes, size 41 in the middle, heaving. In conclusion, these 7 are the actors on the crime scene. The footprints were theirs, but there's a discrepancy. Exactly. You've stood there for about 4 seconds, not saying anything. Hit them with questions.
The fuck is with you, fella?
What are you talking about, madman? There's no 8th Hardy Boy, there's 7 of us and we're all here. Or what? You want to be the 8th Hardy Boy?
Actually, boss, we've been talking and we think she could maybe...
She? So there's an 8th Hardy, and it's a Hardy girl? Who might it be? Elizabeth? The gardener?
Shut the fuck up, Glenn! I do the talking here.
It has to be good, if he won't let you pursue it. Looks like the lieutenant...
So let me get this straight. There is an 8th Hardy Boy. It's a she, and you don't like us talking about her?
That's right. We're not talking about this. This is a private Hardy Boys matter. Nothing to do with your shit. End. You're not cops here. Don't go digging around if you don't want a bullet in the back of your head.
Good. We are all watching each other. Officer, your question.
There's no point in pushing it further, he thinks. This is already a victory. We'll learn more about this 8th Hardy sooner or later.
Looks like the circus left town, but the clowns are still here. The pretty boy.
Funny. But my partner and I have a serious matter to discuss with you.
Container belt, like we use in the harbor. Because we took it from the harbor where we work. Then we went out back and we did this together. All of us. Until...
There's a catch hidden somewhere. He didn't confess so that you could take them all away. It's too simple.
There is no catch. These 7 honest men have all equally come forth to tell you what happened, so that you don't waste...
All 7 together. They're diluting responsibility. It's an anti-arrest tactic.
Huh?
There was a bullet in the dead man's brain. Why was it there if you hanged him?
How the fuck do I know? Anyone could have shot him. Target practice, maybe.
Interesting, sire. It's as if he's lying to protect someone.
This line of questioning is over. You got the cause of death already? Hanging. If there's any post-mortem trauma, it's your problem. This will not turn into a cross-examination. Are you deaf? There will be no single... Do you think you could do that? Do you think you could arrest them all?
A trick question. Don't let her lead the conversation.
That's for the courts in Les Jardins to decide. Not for the officer making an arrest. Which we all know you. What you can do right now is go back to your station and write...
No. We'll stay here and discuss what happened that night.
You don't have to keep answering his questions.
I know, Lizzie. Relax. We Killed him last Sunday night. Seemed like a good way to end the week.
Known him? We don't associate.
Yeah! Quiet. He came around about 3 weeks ago when that...
By the Pines Cow, you mean the representative for Wild Pines? The shipping company you are striking against?
No. I mean the Pines Cow. The stupid-ass cow they sent in to fuck us over. But you know what? Why don't you ask her about the pretty boy? I'm sure she has interesting things to say when you ask her hard enough.
That's enough insinuation for today, Titus. Officer, your interview is drawing to an end. Don't waste your last questions.
We hanged him up by his neck.
Didn't they teach you anything?
The autopsy showed there were no ligature marks. His hands were not tied.
The lieutenant goes in for the leg sweep. Titus doesn't.
Look, I'm not gonna play 20 questions with you.
Yeah, I knocked him out. Came up behind.
That's right, lawman.
Make them a bit more uncomfortable first, then see if it all adds up. Titus is solid as a rock, and so are a few others, but...
No. Of course he's having trouble breathing.
Fuck off, Shanky. Angus is a powerful guy.
Keep your eye on this powerful guy. Sooner or later, he's going to break like a piece of twig.
My fucking elbow, Copper.
Samaran boxing, or he may be lying, but he's good at it. No twitching, no rush.
And fuck you.
This one is a stone wall.
Right fucking here. The fucker is...
No, of course he's...
Fuck off.
Keep your eye on this.
Like what, Copper? We hang...
Didn't they teach...
The autopsy...
The lieutenant...
Yeah.
That's right.
Make them a bit more uncomfortable first, then see if it all adds up.
Right fucking here.
And fuck...
This one is a stone...
Like what, Copper? How many people have you sent to the Shays?
Shays Electrique.
Or send them to Reunion to rot. For 20 years. For life.
Doesn't remember them. He just forgets. Are you hearing this?
Ain't no use keeping a stiff catalog in your head. That's for sure. How many people...
Shays...
Or send them to Reunion to rot. For...
The River Esperance Correctional Facility. A military prison run by the Coalition. Dubbed
Oh, so you are just a simp?
So is hanging a man, slowly, without breaking his neck.
Why? 'Cause he was worthless mercenary scum. And he stepped out of line. In my end, he stepped out of line.
What kind of mercy?
The kind that shows up when you start a strike. The experienced kind, too. At Cohoy and Seminole.
A live grenade. Right here in our bar.
I can't prove it. But I know he was sent by the Wild Pines. They hire merc shit like that. Story of every strike from here to Samara.
'Cause one night, he walked straight up to the mic and said, I'm RNE's.
Really?
Yeah, really. Had a gin and tonic up there, sang some RNE's paratrooper song, and said he's gonna fuck everyone.
We couldn't believe it either.
Sire, the tale is true. This is a serious violation of the karaoke code.
Wrong. He harassed women, raped one, harassed workers, threatened to kill some as a warning.
From rape to harassment to threats of violence. Why the strange de-escalate?
To kill us all if we don't open the gates, if we don't let the scabs in, if we don't bend over. And that was...
Yeah, he said it was his favorite joint now. Started to come in here every night. Drinking, grabbing...
He grabbed someone?
Yeah. This girl's on the mic. A beautiful girl. Young. Gets into the second verse of Lover Lake. Show me your cunt! Why don't you show me your cunt? Then, he gets knocked on the head with a wine bottle. Doesn't even fall down.
Aren't you fucking listening? My man is talking to you. He took...
Yeah, me and Eugene got around.
There's something odd. Seems like they don't want to talk about that rape Titus mentioned. Why not? This is a serious allegation. Make them talk about it.
No. You're not getting the name. That's a Martinez matter. And I'm not discussing it with you, Clint.
Nothing. Your investigation here is done. Leave Martinez.
I think we're going to stick around, thanks. Some things don't add up here, Titus. I've done this job for long enough to know that people don't just confess to first-degree murder, even if it is a group responsibility.
Good luck with that. You've heard everything a rent-a-cop is gonna hear from us. Real law of... You still own a...
Indeed. Mighty. How did it...
Well, there are so many bullets in the world.
It's bound to happen again, you know? Just statistically speaking of...
Sire, it would be an event most dramatic if you were to produce the bullet and dangle it before their very eyes.
Wow! He's got it in a real evidence bag and all!
Why don't you go home and log it into evidence? These men have told you what happened.
You know what I think? I think he was shot in the head as a kid. And his brain grew around the...
Around the bullet, man. That's a good one.
All the goofing around is to avoid lying. It's a technique.
Shit! I probably did shoot him. I was drunk last...
Yeah, Glenn likes to...
No, he meant before he was hanged. Did you shoot him before...
Before? After? During? This is getting ridiculous. They told you what happened. Stop wasting your time.
Never been worried in my life, Lawman.
It's not like he blew it wide open, but there's a little crack in there, somewhere.